Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening, my fellow troglodytes, Neanderthals, hairy knuckle dragon apes, cavemen, chicken littles, boys crying wolf, everybody else in the red pill manosphere, and to all the good faithful family. Welcome to the Good Faith Podcast, where we maneuver around toxic debauchery, attempting to find harmony with our fellow man and dissect society's caustic degeneracy. If it's a pre-apocalyptic dystopia that you seek, then look no further, because here it is. The great American empire is going to hell in a handbasket, and quickly. I'm your host, Ninjah Bullock. I understand you could have been a million other places, and the time is the most precious commodity that any of us have. So from the bottom of my heart, I'd like to share my gratitude with you all. Viewer and listener discretion is advised due to the sensitive nature of some of the topics that we're going to be speaking about. We hope you'll shield youngins from some of the vulgarity that may be spewed here. We got whoredom for your boredom, and we're going to talk about smut. So keep the kids at bay.
It's smut, Bill.
It must be noted that the views expressed by the panel are not necessarily the views of the Good Faith Podcast. We are no fiduciary. We assume no culpability of investment performance as a result of following our financial advice. Our simple aim is to entertain and inform. Anybody living in the greater Philadelphia area interested in making an appearance on our show can reach me in a DM on Facebook or Instagram at Christopher Bulick. See our Patreon link in the description if you'd like to make a campaign contribution to facilitate our meteoric rise.
I ain't trying to screw you. You ain't giving me no money.
In all seriousness, times are tough. Any proceeds we receive will be going towards avoiding eviction, keeping the lights on, medicating Clark with all of his health concerns, and feeding our gracious guests. Once again, if you feel you've been given value by us, it takes a little extra effort to like and subscribe. This is your notification that the Good Faith Podcast is now available not only on YouTube, but Twitch, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Patreon, Amazon Music, Samsung Podcasts, Listen Notes, iHeartRadio, Pandora, and RSS.com. We'll keep pushing out these episodes so long as our following stays growing. And the path to notoriety will be for our listeners to spread the good word of the podcast. If you have somebody in mind who would agree with our content, may be informed, if you want to ridicule us, send a link to your friends and family. All publicity is good publicity. Our objective is to have balance between the red and the blue, although the only good commie is a dead commie, red is dead. Although and then like I don't necessarily back the blue. So it's kind of difficult to navigate this political landscape these days. I prefer being a moderate or a centrist, but I think I am like leaning a little more right these days. If you have somebody in mind who enjoys listening to podcasts, please spread our channel to them. And guys, if you want to get your mother like an amazing Mother's Day gift her a membership to the Good Faith Podcast. And also now we have merch. If you want to get your mother a high stakes t-shirt or a hoodie, I think it would make an amazing Mother's Day gift. We got new merchandise coming all the time, but we're still extremely new to the merchandising avenue. So, if you guys want to start us out with some business by buying some t-shirts and hoodies, I think it would be much appreciated. Or if you just want to get a membership, it'll put you like a little special icon whenever you chat. So I'll know that you're like a real OG and you're not just some like noob, and now I made it so you have to be subscribed for at least 20 minutes before your opinion is to be heard. I don't think that was really a problem, but I eventually want to make it so that you have to be I would like it so you eventually have to be a member in order to make your opinion heard. Otherwise, it's just going to be a bunch of freeloaders talking all the time. You guys, we are live, so feel free to start chatting in. Let me get to our fragrance of the week. Fragrance of the week is Estee Lauder Beyond Paradise for Men. It is a discontinued fragrance. It's one of my favorites, though. It was launched in 2004, designed for daytime warm weather wear, so it's perfect right now this time of year. It's known for its unique tropical and at times polarizing watery scent. It features notes of citrus, florals like honeysuckle, which is like my literal favorite scent in the entire world, woody bases, providing a long-lasting fresh experience. It's got top notes of hyacinth, grapefruit, orange blossom, bergamot, and lemon. Middle notes of honeysuckle, jasmine, gardenia, and orchid. base notes of plumwood, amber, and hibiscus, and it's described, like I said, as tropical watery scent that invokes a sunny seaside or island breeze, man. And the perfumer was Callus Baker. The candle of the week is cherry vanilla swirl, and it's like it's a little one. It's like a nice sweet aromatic one. So hopefully that has this place smelling good. The shirt of the week is Rugby University. I got my Star Spangled shirt on, and I got George Star Spangled shorts on. I'm wearing red, white, and blue Baltimore Bullets hat with my like flip-flop slides because I want to look like a patriot. I want to look like an American, which like American pride is dying quickly. People are hopping on board, or should I say hopping on rafts for like communism, which I don't understand, but soon enough they'll be hopping on rafts to flee communism because that's how it always goes. And guys, you know what I say look good, smell good, play good, and when you play good they pay good, and you don't have to spend $1 million to look like $1 million. Speaking of looking like $1 million for only a couple of bucks, how's your head looking? Do you look like a werewolf? Do you have some grotesque mullet or some broccoli curly Q Gen Alpha haircut? Maybe your mustache is overgrown and disheveled, or your neck beard is subcommunicating that you haven't gone down on a woman since the Bush administration. Are your sideburns mutton chops, or do you display any number of culturally irrelevant hairstyles in 2026? Let me give a glaring recommendation for my personal barber, Rob Fiorentino. His prices are reasonable. He does exquisite work. If you work with him, he's going to do it at Fuse Barbershop, so you don't have to dread going to some Bush League hair cuttery or Great Clips or anything like that where like it's trash. They're just trying to like churn and burn haircuts without putting the care into it. He's right in the heart of Richboro, PA. Rob has been shaping up guys and giving them the hookup for years, and I promise if you go to him once, you'll be hooked for life. Find Rob on Instagram to browse his portfolio of work at robdabarber13 with underscores instead of spaces, and book him on Booksy with the link in the show notes. When other hairstylists just don't make the cut, go to Rob Fiorentino and listen to the Good Faith podcast while you get the finest shape up that money can buy. Now, at this time, I'm going to bring on my special guest, Uncle Vaz. So, Uncle Vaz was the guy who we had a long talk on the phone, a really long talk. We had like a 2-hour talk on the phone, and he gave me the idea for this show title, which is You'll Vote in Communism, but you'll shoot your way out of it. And I thought that was like a genius saying that he told me. So, Uncle Vaz, how are you?
Everything's cool and everything's smooth. And I'll tell you, I noticed you skip these guys. I always thank the edgelords. So I always thank the edgelords. They're my people.
The what?
But the edgelords.
What are the edgelords?
They're just people who are just performative and just they try to act outrageous for clicks.
Okay.
Back in the, you won't know the reference, but there was a guy, I'm actually a Red Pill OG.
Uh-huh.
And so there was a guy who went by It Is Written, and he and I did what turned out to be their inaugural podcast. And he basically did something similar to you, and I said, don't leave out the edgelords. So that's always been my thing. Is I always thank the edgelords. But yeah, and it is true. You can vote yourself into communism, which is what we're seeing in the Northeast. It's going to be a mess. But you're going to have to shoot your way out of it. Which is what my grandmother's people found out, because that's the Slavic side.
Okay,
But,
so
yeah.
they're from Slovakia. Is that?
No. That would be Slovak. They're Slavs, so Slavic. Right?
Okay.
So they're ethnically Russian, but they were in Odessa because the old patriarch got sent down there for the Navy.
Okay.
And then my mom escaped. It wasn't that bad then. So she just left, and with her, and so at some point I inherited some people. Probably about 20 years ago in the FSU, and then I took care of them. And then the younger people, they're fine. Like the people who were old when the transition happened needed some help. So it's funny, I still tease some of my younger cousins because they were just kids. And I would show up. I was the uncle from America. Mm-hmm. And I would show up and I'd bring presents and stuff. And so the guys who are in their 40s, they would say to their mom, "Oh, hey, does Uncle Vaz know Grandfather Frost? Ded Muros, he's their version of Santa Claus. He's actually kind of mean, but he throws ice bolts at people and hangs out with really young, attractive women. But yeah, he is their version of Santa Claus. So this is kind of fun. But yeah, so we got a little bit off track. But anything, so if anyone in your audience knows me from Reddit, my own personal subreddit is our Uncle Vasya, Vasya. And I've collected my works there because, I just put out stuff. Like I started there, and there were a lot of young guys. There used to be an Ask TRP, and it doesn't exist anymore. Just the regular TRP does. But so in Ask TRP, young guys would ask questions like, "How do I interview for a job?" This kind of stuff. Or I have an interview for tomorrow. So I started putting together what became a series called Corporate Land that has like 16 or 17 or 18 entries, and it starts off with exactly that. How do you interview for a job? How do you behave when you're there? Like I think I called it the deportment department. So it's, how do you act? This is the rat race for new rats, what you have to do, and who to get along with and who to watch out for. And then I also talk about, how to ask for a raise, and things like that. So it went down through, let's see if I can pull it up. I'll give you some of the titles. So I created a survival guide for new rats. And then there was how to kill it in your job interview, how to handle salary negotiations, how to ask for a raise, the deportment department, or how to behave, how to stay out of social trouble at work, working with women in the modern corporate environment, because some guys need to be told. So that's the 7 women you will meet at work. How to handle holiday parties. Nobody ever got promoted at the holiday party, but plenty of people got fired, and you don't want to be that guy. Then I do, since I negotiate for a living, I talked about negotiations for business. And then there's a guy named Stanley Bing. His name was Gil Schwartz. He was CBS for years, who wrote under the pen name Stanley Bing. And he wrote some interesting books that sort of presaged my existence in corporate land. So one of them was, my personal favorite is What Would Machiavelli Do, which is a must read for anyone who goes into that. And then the other one was How to Relax Without Getting the Axe, which is basically how to act like you're remote when you're not remote. So I talk about that a bit. And then some books on management, what to do when you get fired or laid off, how to handle promotions, the importance of having a patron, the importance of allies, and don't kill the job versus quiet quitting, and then knowing when to leave is the final chapter of Corporate Land. So there was a lot of that, and then there was a lot of stuff that I think my most upvoted post was things my father taught me, advice for guys raised by single moms. Life after 30, how to be an old guy. Fitness, finance is fun, and effing. We're early on, so I try not to get demonetized. So, what to concentrate, how to handle yourself as a man, and how to come up when you're a young guy and come up in the right way. And, there's one called the Anna Karenina principle and the problem of bad relationships, which is, we don't stay in relationships when there's a fatal flaw that's never going to be overcome. All you do is you keep, doubling down and losing. So you have to recognize that things are never going to get better. And that was it. So there's a lot of, just different stuff. There's something I should have called fish with a net, not a pole, right? Some guys just get dialed in on one girl, and, they lay siege to Becky. And then some guy comes in who knows what he's doing and starts chatting her up, and that guy puffs his chest out because he's going to protect his woman against this interloper. And the guy looks at her and goes, "Oh, is that your boyfriend?" And she giggles and says, no. And all the work that he's put in gets vaporized in 5 seconds, and his balls shrink down to little hamster balls and disappear into a puff of dust.
So
yeah.
Do you have any experience as a young pup with that happening to you?
I didn't do that because I was fairly red-pilled from the beginning.
Uh-huh.
So, I think if I did, it would have been when I was 14 or 15, but I never had that situation happen to me. I mean, there were girls I were into who were very clearly not into me. And eventually I went, oh, well, that other girl, she's really into me, and she's pretty cute too. So, yeah, you can't get all wrapped around an axle about one special girl, because there is no one special girl.
So one concept that I am fascinated by, and this has never happened to me. I've never been on either, to my knowledge, I've never been on either side of this. I guess I've probably been on both sides of it, but not knowingly. So I like to call them the doggy bag boys, and what a lot of women will do is they'll go on a date with a gentleman and he'll treat them to a whole meal, and then when the date is over, they will get their doggy bag. They'll take their leftovers home with them. He'll maybe get like a peck on the cheek, and then she will call over that Chad with his big honking dick, and he will fuck your girl and then eat the leftover food. He'll eat the dog. He's a doggy bag boy. He'll eat the leftovers. Do you have any experience in that realm?
I would not have any pride as a man if I was eating the doggy bag food. That's just ridiculous.
You gotta get your nutrients after a good fucking though. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and he's not effing like your girl. He's effing his girl who did what. There was a woman named Jessica Sporty in I don't know, in the early, maybe in the 00s. So she got famous, sort of infamous in New York, because she was making $68,000 or $80,000 a year in New York, which you could actually live on then, but you couldn't.
Yeah.
You couldn't experience some of the things that she wanted to experience. So she went on Match, I think, and she would arrange dates with these. She was a fairly decent looking woman. She would go on dates with like bankers and lawyers, or professionals who would take her to, Per Se or 11 Madison Park or Maria or whatever the, there's another one I can't think of. Anyway, whatever it is. There's a, fish place that's a 3-star Michelin thing. Le Bernardin, yeah. So she would get taken to these restaurants, and she would keep them all in a spreadsheet, and she would never go out with a guy more than I think 5 times, or maybe it was 3. And it was also because a guy who she's dated 3-4 times might begin to have expectations that he's in a relationship.
Yeah.
And he might want to, start, playing hide the sausage. So in any case, so she somehow got found out, and the Village, I think the Village Voice or Business Insider did a profile on her, and they changed her name to protect her. Now imagine if this was a guy doing this, he would have been excoriated.
Oh yeah.
But they changed the name to Minerva McGonagall, who I guess is the Harry Potter character. Then somebody else, I think it was Village Voice, ran a thing on her, but they used her real name, and she wound up having to go on Good Morning America to kind of defend herself. And she was being interviewed by, I think, Lisa Ling. And you could tell that, like, Lisa Ling, whoever it was, just wanted to go, come on, this is BS. And she's like, they always offered to pay. I would have paid if they asked. But I would have thought that wasn't very traditional. Like, my grandmother never would have asked that. Well, your grandma wasn't keeping a spreadsheet of all the men to make sure that she didn't go out with one more than a few times, So anyway, so that was kind of her. So I've never been on the bad side of that. One thing that's a real eye-opener for guys is the first time you're with a woman who is cheating on some other guy with you. And that just kind of shows you, that's like Alfred Lord Tennyson, like nature red in tooth and claw. It gives you the real reality of things.
I don't ever want to choose to be that guy, but like but one time, like within the last year, I was like plowing this girl for like 45 minutes, and I swear her phone never stopped ringing the whole freaking time. Like, and I wanted to just pick up the phone and be like, "Hey, I'm fucking over here."
So I actually, in my dirty 30s, I turned down a lot of married women.
Yeah.
Because it's just, I don't need to get involved. There's too much drama. Even if I don't care about the guy, he's got no physical threat over me. He's always going to be more invested, and I'm not going to catch 2 in the chest over some.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why. So, and some of these women were hard to say no to, to tell you. And, but yeah, no, it was, there were plenty of single women slinging it for free. Like one, I was house sitting for one, and there was another girl I was dating, and I brought her over and banged her in the other girl's bed. But when I was in college, there was a woman who I dated, and, we had a class together, or sometimes I'd run into her on campus, and she'd wind up coming back to my room. And, the time would pass and be time to get out of the dining hall or whatever. I'd say, "Hey, you want to come down with me?" She's like, "Sure, can I use your phone?" Because I'm an old guy, so this is back before mobiles. And basically 3 days in a row, she broke dates with the same guy just to keep hanging out with me. So that's when you go, like the third time, I was like, that's that same dude, isn't it? And I was like, oh, well, the better man won. So I don't really have a lot of sympathy for those guys because they're over investing when they don't need to be.
Yeah.
Like, what you want is the hell yeah girl, right? Like, hell yeah, hey, you want, yeah, hell yeah, I want to go do that with you.
Yeah.
And if you can't find, if you're getting lukewarm, or if you're getting a girl who says yes, but then never follows through on plans, she's just not into you, and you got to find a girl who is. Like, that's what I say, you fish with a net and not a pole.
Yep.
So you're the low interest guy, And then when when a girl starts giving you buy signals, that's when you invest, like when she's demonstrating to you that she's into you. So I mean that's how you handle that. But so I also want to just be careful here too. There's Michael Sartain, who I know you follow and I follow. He actually made a good point. I don't really watch his stuff so much as it appears on, but he always has something good to say.
Mm-hmm.
So he talks about playing offense and playing defense, right? So right there where we're talking about like the dirty little secrets of women and shit that they do, that is playing defense, right? So when somebody goes on and they complain that all girls are terrible, or a girl goes on and goes, all guys are terrible, that's not where you want to be in life, right? That just kind of keeps you there. So we want to do what Sartain calls playing offense, which is like how to become a better man, what to do, right? So every young guy, and I think when Gen Z says they got screwed, they got screwed. I'm a proud member of Gen X. We are the honey badger generation. We do not care. We will kill you. But yeah, so in any case, the problem that Gen X has is that we're kind of getting to the end of American prosperity that reaches down beyond. It used to be that the difference between what the lowest paid worker in a plant made and the president of the company, was like 8x, and now it's like 800x. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So the boomers kind of showed up through. They think the raison d'etre of the country was to produce them, and they just threw themselves a party and they expect their grandchildren to pay for it. So every other generation showed up and they were trying to build a better life for their family. The boomers were like, yeah, we're just going to party. So the only thing I like about boomers is that I'm going to get to watch them all die.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, I do not like the boom. They're so self-important. Right?
Here,
always giving you some kind of lecture.
Are you able to hear my soundboard like when I play this?
Yep, I can.
Okay.
You lose. Good day, sir.
That's the boomers talking
Willy
to every other generation.
Yeah. No, the boom, man. They think they were. The boom came. They were born at the luckiest time in history, right? Because the GIs had just come home. Everyone who competed with us had either not arrived yet, like China was still an agrarian economy, or they just got the crap beat. I mean, Japan got nuked. That's how bad that was. So Japan got nuked. Everyone else was bombed out. Even the British were still doing they had food production quotas and stuff. Like you could only get a certain amount of food. Like and it's after the war. You think things would be okay. But yeah, so Germany was completely destroyed. Everyone in Europe was gone, and it was basically just us. And it's funny because at that time, speaking of, we talked about communism earlier. At that time, Venezuela was like the fourth richest country in the world. Everyone else had the crap knocked out of them, but they had those resources. They got a lot of gold, they got a lot of minerals, they got a lot of oil.
And Venezuela in that time became communist, right?
Well, no, I think it was more in the 90s. Like in the 90s, they were wealthier than Spain.
Uh-huh.
Spain, a member of the EU, they were better off than Spain. When they got Chavez, right, that's when things started to go downhill. They kicked out the oil companies. The people there didn't know how to maintain them as well. So their production is at least 1 billion barrels off of what it should be. Yeah. So, yeah, that's turned into a disaster. And then, people are leaving and they come over to Colombia and they trade their wedding rings at the border for some cash to eat. And yeah, it's just bad, So, yeah, so I hope we'll get something different. I haven't really followed it much. Once we grab Maduro, who richly deserved. Maduro lost the election, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's like he like it was an insurrection, right? Like he did not
he just said, too bad we're staying. I get the army and I'm staying.
Yeah.
So one of the things Trump did when he first got in, and there's things I like about him, things I don't like. But I didn't even know that this was going on. I don't think most people did. But he sent Rick Grenell, who's a diplomat. I think he'd been ambassador to Germany, and now he's just a diplomat without portfolio. But he sent him down to Venezuela. Apparently, they were holding some Americans. And Trump sent him down. And Grenell met with Maduro and said, hey, look, bud, you are going to give me the Americans, or the next American you meet after me, they're going to be Marines. Mm-hmm. So I leave here with these people, or bad things are going to happen to you. Now, bad things happened to him anyway, which he richly deserved. So they got, I think we got about half of them, but he took a bunch of people home on a plane. So, yeah, he doesn't mess around. So Trump, when he grabbed Maduro, I think he made a deal with the next people in that was like, hey, this is how you're going to behave if you want to keep your head attached to your body. So, I think the next time, I don't know when their elections are, but I think they're going to be a little more fairly determined. So we'll see what happens, and that's good because no boots on the ground, right? We're not having a forever war, although we may get one in Iran, but we'll see. So yeah, but that's somehow we got sidetracked off of the other stuff. So let's get back to things you can do.
I want to let's take a quick segue. Well, because the underlying theme of the episode is about communism. So I'm just going. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna read a headline, and you can like weigh in if you want to. Okay.
Okay. Sure.
So what basically happened is we're right around I think the 100-day mark of Mamdani being in office, and it is going more disastrously than I think even the biggest cynic could have prophesized. So after 100 days of Mamdani being in office, he paid he shelled out $237 million to record this like billionaires beware video. And he went out to the front steps of Ken Griffin's penthouse, and he filmed himself threatening the billionaire, or threatening all billionaires on the sidewalk, saying that he was going to tax the rich, and it has already costed New York City $6 billion and 21,000 jobs, because Ken Griffin, the CEO of Citadel Securities, he was all in on New York. He was planning to build this build this like $230 million high-rise building that was going to be the new headquarters of Citadel Securities. And then and right before that, he donated $650 million to the city of New York. And it was a $6 billion development deal that was going to have 21,000 jobs to build this high-rise headquarters for Citadel Securities. Then Mamdani filmed that threat video, and Ken Griffin said that we're going to double down. We're moving our development to Miami.
Yeah, Miami's New York's loss is Miami's gain. Yeah, I would not be happy if I was him. I mean, New York passed a pied-à-terre tax, so if you have an apartment and you're not living in it as your primary residence, they're going to tax you if it's above like $5 million or something. He has Ken Griffin's a very wealthy man, and he has a very nice penthouse there. But Mamdani shows up, does a video on the front steps, so he's basically saying to his followers, "Yeah, when we do, The Dark Knight Rises, come here." Right? He's basically threatening the guy physically, whether he understands that or not. And yeah, they had a big construction project. I forget, was it 380 Wall Street? I could be wrong, but in any event, they canceled that. That's a lot of Johnny Lunchbuckets who would have been building that building who don't have jobs now, right? That was their job that they had lined up for the engineers and the.
At Godflow 2000 said, "What's up, y'all?
What's up, Aaron? Thank you for joining us. I love having you in here. You're always a loyal subscriber, a loyal chatter. So it's good to have you. We're talking about communism. Continue, Uncle Vaz.
Yeah, so, there's a lot of guys that were going to have jobs building that new building that we're going to put in, and he just canceled it. So they're not going to do that. I would assume that a lot of those jobs are going away, because Miami has kind of become Wall Street South. We had David Tepper down here. He was actually up in Palm Beach County. I live in Florida, big surprise. But yeah, Tepper, God. So Tepper.
At Miriam J209Y said, "Hi, happy Friday."
What's up, Kate? Happy Friday.
So Tepper he co-founded Appaloosa Capital, and he bought a bunch of properties. He owns the Carolina Panthers. He bought a bunch of properties in Florida. And when he left New Jersey, the New Jersey Department of Revenue was like, our revenue projections are no longer stable. Like one guy leaves town, one rich guy leaves town. And New Jersey got lucky because he got down here and his wife didn't like it. So his wife's like, so they did. He moved back. Like some of these titans in businesses just have no hand. Like I would have been like, if you want to go have brunch with your girlfriends, you go have brunch with your girlfriends. And you think about whether it's a good idea to leave I'll be staying here. And you think about whether it's a good idea to leave the franchise down in Florida unguarded. Right. Hey, I think I'll give Lauren Sanchez a call. You may want to confer with her on that.
But there's like a false narrative that billionaires don't pay any taxes. Billionaires are getting through all these loopholes and not being taxed fairly. When last year, New York City billionaires accounted for more than half of the tax revenue that was paid in New York City. So like, and then and Citadel employees alone paid $2.3 billion to New York City in the last 5 years. So like they're not even all of them are billionaires. There's probably Ken Griffin is probably the only billionaire who works at Citadel, and like they're paying more than their fair share in taxes. The rich are handling their fair share when it comes to like their civic duty of paying into this system that we all know is like super corrupt. Like how come there's not more of an emphasis put on like demanding credibility and accountability for these politicians who are mishandling all of our like tax revenue?
Because math is hard. Like 50% of everyone you know on average is below average.
Yeah.
So it's a lot easier for them to do what? To play defense, to blame some other guy.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not fair that he's rich and I'm not, and da-da-da-da-da. Yeah, so, you know, and it's also an easier story to tell. Like that guy is keeping you down when he's not.
Yeah.
And, you know, a lot of those guys, they provide, I mean, if you look at the top 1% or top 5%, they pay probably 2/3 of the federal income tax, and I'm sure it's something similar in New York.
Yep.
And you know, you can make the argument, well, he's either going to have to sell that penthouse, or it's still going to be taxed no matter who owns it, right? But there is money that can leave, and that's the employees. I don't know how many of them move to Florida. I bet a lot of them will. He may not give them a choice. He may go, you can stay here and pay taxes if you want. But a lot of people are voting with their feet. In fact, Governor Hochul, who 4 years ago was telling everybody, you don't share New York's values and get out of town. And she's being all tough. So, you know, just earlier in the year, she's like, yeah, like, could you guys come back, please? Like, we need your money. She's like, she literally said, we're going to have to send a bus down to Palm Beach and pick people up and bring them home. Because now they found out that, you know, you keep beating up the guy who lays the golden eggs, he's going to take the golden egg somewhere else. And it's not just big guys. I mean, I'm not particularly wealthy. I got out of, you know, the Northeast because I'm sitting here going, why am I paying all these taxes to people who tell me how much they hate me?
Yeah.
Like, why would I not go down and like, I think the net for me is about $4,000 a month in avoided tax, just between state income tax and, you know, that's a couple dinners out.
That's crazy. That's per month. So
yeah, that's each month I'm spending less. It's probably evened up a little bit because housing costs have risen a little bit.
So you're saving roughly like $50,000 a year, like
yeah, a little bit less than. I mean, there's some other stuff. I didn't do the whole math out beyond because math is hard. I used to teach math, so it's not for me. But I just calculated out the avoided tax, right, in terms of state tax and property tax and tax because there's a tax, and you know, it's just crazy because I was paying a lot of money in property tax alone, and then that's on top of state income tax. Right? I was living in Connecticut of all places, so Connecticut got a temporary income tax in 1990 because the budget gap wouldn't close, and then.
At MomZ3BL said, "Hi, Chris and Uncle Vaz."
Hi, is that mom? I think that was my mom. Hi, mom.
Hey,
hi,
Chris's mom.
Happy early Mother's Day. I hope you like the flowers that you got.
What a sweet guy. You gotta like a guy who likes his mom, loves his mom, takes care of her. So, but yeah, no, I mean, and then that temporary tax that had been extended for 3 years was temporarily.
At MomZ3BL said, "Thanks, Chris."
And that was 36 years ago that they got a temporary tax. So the tax that they put on telephones, back when only rich people had telephones, to pay for the Spanish-American War was finally gotten rid of in the 1990s. So it was an 80-year tax to pay for a war that had long been paid for. So it's tough there's nothing more permanent than a temporary tax. So it is temporary because the taxpayer eventually dies and then you just sweat, which is what I did. But I'm like, why am I up here? Like, you know, it's the web. And I was up in, you know, having lived in Florida, which is the filter on your iPhone is like vivid bright or something. Florida's like that all the time. I was up in New York for a weekend. And I'm like, if I went to a paint store and I said, give me the color of the sky, it would be something called industrial sadness.
Yeah.
Like people fucking live here.
Smoggy gray.
Yeah. It's just, oh yeah. And I'm telling you, like things are not, like we are better as a nation when we're united. Like if you look at how people, like you don't have the perspective on this because I'm a lot older than you, but do you remember that Gillette commercial where it's like men suck, blah blah blah, and all men are rapists and crap like that. Rapists are crap like that.
Don't, but it does sound like familiar. I think it was like rather.
So
recent.
there was a short film. This was when everyone was peak woke. There was a short film called "The Best a Man Can Be," I think, and I'll find these and I'll send them to you. But and it was all basically like men are terrible, they're all rapists and da 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 kind of crap. And like there'll be like this a guy's going to go talk to a girl, and then this friend's like, oh no, she might have been down, you don't know. I mean, thank God my bro of color was there to like keep me from actually talking to a human. But if you cross that with, there was a similar thing they did called "The Best a Man Can Be," and I think it was the 80s or the 90s, and it's so much better, so much more positive. I mean, there are people getting married. The guy was an astronaut. Like, there's all kinds of great stuff, and it was all positive, and we've lost that.
Yeah.
As a nation, like when Reagan said it was morning in America, it was. I mean, there was much more positivity, and now we're all told, "Oh, our democracy's fragile," and the other side's a bunch of Nazis. It's just crazy.
I noticed one thing, and it's like I'm like I work. I'm in education, so I work with a lot of liberal yuppies that are like a lot of people that want to see the American downfall. They want to see the feminine imperative like completely triumph in this like war over masculinity. But I'm like the only patriot of my entire like work team, and I'm a cynic. I basically hate the people that are in charge of America, but I still do love America, and I just bought a 2007 Ford Mustang. It's like the most beautiful car I've ever owned, and and all of the Gen X women love it because it's like a relic of the past. They're so used to seeing like little Hyundais and Toyotas and Hondas, like little Jap pieces of crap, and they see like my like pearly white American it's almost a muscle car. It's like a pseudo muscle car, and like it brings them back to like a simpler time when everybody in America like loved the place that they lived.
Oh, big time. Yeah, there's some kind of there's some outfit on Insta called Nostalgia something or other, and it's all AI. But they do this thing about, do you remember 1991 or 1987? And for me, it's a sense memory. But they really do a great job of catching it. I mean, it's capturing it. It's like right in the feels. Mm-hmm. But yeah. So, you are right. Like it's a whole, to me, it's like, I miss the America I grew up in. Yeah. And I just don't see a lot of it now. And there's a lot of, like, everyone is so divided. And you can't, like, there's a friend of mine's mom who was a teacher. I just saw her, unfortunately, at the funeral. But she was, she's just virulently anti-Trump, but you can still have a conversation with her, which most people you can't. Yeah. And most people will tell you, like, because I always say, like, what do you hate about it? Because all they can say, I've never had anyone say, okay, it's this or it's that. It's always, I hate him as a person. Yep. And not, okay, tell me which of his policies are bad. And, there are some that even I would disagree with. Yeah. But, but is it like, okay, closing the border, is that bad? Because you look at who Biden was letting in, which was everybody. If you go back and you look, and you take a look at the first week of the Trump presidency, how many people got scooped up by Tom Homan and ICE who are bad guys, right? Who are child rapists and PDF files, let's say that. So the PDF guys, and, because they knew where they were. Like ICE knew, but they had been prohibited from picking them up. Yeah. So Homan's in charge, boom, they start setting them up and knocking them down. There was one guy who, at that time, America was a great place to hide if you were being charged in some other jurisdiction. So there was a Brazilian dude who was in Massachusetts hiding out upstairs. He had an apartment above a daycare center, and he's running away from Brazil because he was a fan of the playground. And, and you're like, it couldn't be any worse. And like, what's the point of this?
I saw videos of like caravans at the border, and like an interviewer, like what, nobody was like stopping them, but like an interviewer was just interviewing them saying like, hey, where are you going? Phoenix. Hey, where are you going? L.A.
Oh,
Hey,
yeah,
where are you
yeah.
going? Chicago. Hey, where are you going? L.A. Hey, where are you going? Phoenix. Like, and they were all just funneling into these sanctuary cities. Like, they all had a plan. They knew exactly where they were going. I'm sure that when they got there was a welcome wagon, like, you know, just rolling out a red carpet for them.
Sometimes it wasn't. The DeSantis down here, and I think Greg Abbott, and you know, okay, I feel a little bit bad for the people involved because they're kind of pawns, but they did put themselves in the situation by entering illegally. So they sent a bunch of illegals up to Martha's Vineyard.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, they all freaked out. It's like, oh my God, there's a brown person on my street. He doesn't have a leaf blower. He's not refilling my iced tea. What do I do? Yeah, they couldn't. 24 hours, those guys had all been removed to a military base. And I feel bad for the people.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
I mean,
of
the
course.
People, you know, but I loved watching those guys squirm about it. They had a group chat that got released, and it's all the good libs, and they're like, well, I want to help them. Like, what do they need housing, Lucille, and you've got those 2 empty rentals.
I want to help them find somewhere lower income where they can stay. Yeah, like that's the thing is like a lot of these, like I call them awfuls, affluent white feminist liberals. Yeah, like exactly. And they're all, and like they treat their entire mentality on life the same. Like it's good for others, but not for me. Like I'd love every girl to get an abortion except for my daughter. Like I'd love every illegal immigrant who's like MS-13 affiliated to come into this country, but not into my neighborhood. Like I want them to go into the low income inner city with all the blacks, and they can just kind of, you know, like live in squalor there. But I don't want them to depreciate my home value.
Well, the other problem is, you know, if you're bringing in folks, and look, if we decide we need labor, let's create an ag farm worker. I'm sure we have one. Let's just expand the program if that's what we need, right? But that's not what that's about. And really, what illegals are about is, for the left, is the census counts inhabitants; it doesn't count citizens. So if you took the illegals out of the Northeast, you'd have probably about 15 seats that would migrate with them. Mm-hmm. From the north to the south. Now, not all of those would be red seats, but let's say it's 13-2, right? And the House is pretty evenly divided. Like you can go one way or the other. So you get a plus 13, you get a plus 10, right? Let's say it's 13-2 or 13-3, so it's net plus 10. That would be in red states, and that's what they're trying to avoid. Yeah. So you have that, and then for the jobs Americans won't do, that's bullshit. There is no industry in America that is not majority U.S. citizen, including farm labor. Although, in fairness, farm labor is pretty close. But yeah, no, I mean, you just vet them, and you create an ag visa for the people who need it. And for Mexico, I think money transfers to the United States is their biggest source of hard currency other than oil. Hmm. So, you know, they get something out of this too. So, you know, there's a way to handle this that doesn't involve, like, you know, if you know who Laken Riley was, she went out for a jog and she was, you know, assaulted. They had to identify her from her dental records because her head had been smashed in by some guy who was a known scumbag who'd been picked up by ICE under the catch and release program and set free. And then the same thing with, God, what was her name?
Irina
Zarutska. Yeah, but the guy who killed her was homegrown. He was just a guy who shouldn't have been out on the street. That's another thing. You look at these
he had like, I think he had like 17 priors or something like that.
Yeah, he had a lot. The guy in Chicago had like 75 or something. He was the girl. He was the guy who dumped the fuel on the girl and set her on fire. Jesus. And yeah, she lived. Unfortunately for her, because I mean, I almost think it would have been more merciful if she passed, just because, like, that's what you're not going to recover from that in a meaningful way. That guy had 75 arrests, and the thing is murderers get arrested about 12 times on average before they kill somebody, and we're letting people out and walk around because we feel bad for them. I mean, we need to make asylums great again. And, you know, things are only going to get worse, right? And you ride public transit in New York, like, you know, if you and I went on public transit in New York, we'd be the two white guys. Because now that there's Uber, cities move at different speeds, right? I mean, you know, sometimes I'll hop on the subway when I'm up there because I'm a big ugly guy and people leave me alone.
I can count on less than, like, I think I rode the subway in Philadelphia one time in my entire life. I took it from Center City down to South Philly, and it was scary. And I was already an adult, and it's just like it's the ghetto underground in a Fallout bunker, you know.
There was I want to say during the Obama administration, there was a girl or a woman who got attacked on the subway, like, you know, sexually assaulted, and nobody did anything.
Mm-hmm.
And like, you're just looking at this going, well, I mean, they don't want to do anything because they don't want to get stabbed, right?
Yeah.
And you look at Daniel Penny, like anyone who's going to help anyone on the subway. Daniel Penny, I mean, Alvin Bragg's an anti-white racist, is what it is. So Penny was the guy leading it when the guy, and I don't think he was trying to kill the guy. He was just put him in a sleeper hold. And there were a couple of black guys helping him. They didn't get charged, right? Because they're the right color for Bragg. And so Penny got released. For Penny, it just shows you that the process is the punishment. Because they were holding him without bail, and they sent a successively high bail. And, you know, he was able to raise it through like GoFundMe or something, or Give Send Go. Like they probably tried to get rid of his GoFundMe to mess with him more. So yeah, and so he was able to raise the money, and he was ultimately acquitted because the people who he was helping, like it's mostly, he was probably the only white dude. So the black ladies went down and said, yeah, we were scared of this guy, and Mr. Penny saved us, and the guys helping him were saying like, oh yeah, no, we were doing it too, and so everyone lined up behind him, so he was lucky, and he still got charged. I mean, the whole thing's BS. And if you can take an Uber, why wouldn't you take an Uber, right? But Philadelphia, there was a girl I was dating, this was some years ago, who, she's very introverted to begin with, and she's like, I said, you're like a fawn. Like you go out and you're just going to attract attention. And so she told me she had a trip to Philly. I was like, oh, you had this conference out in like King of Prussia, where it's safe? Or is it in Center City? She's like, oh, it's in Center City. Okay. I was like, all right, well, I am going to come down and I'm going to work from home in, Center City at a nice hotel. You were going to stay with me, and the big bad wolf is going to walk you to school and back every day. And because I'm like, Center City is just, you got people, whatever that stuff is that makes you nod, like you're at some weird angle, and then just right before you die, like there's a lot of that going on.
Fentanyl.
Yeah. Is it fentanyl? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't. Yeah, if I want to get higher than a glass of wine, I smash my head against the wall. But anyway, yeah. So I'm like, you're just gonna stay at the thing and go to lunch with the people there, whatever you're gonna do, and then I'll come get you and I'll walk you back and you'll stay with me. And she was like, yeah, that's fine. So, and it was good for me because I get to go to the Barnes Museum, which is great. I guess that got moved in from Lower Marriott. And when you go to a museum and you like about, maybe you like 30% of the stuff like that, I liked about 80% of it. So it was actually a total win. But yeah, she went out to lunch once by herself, and she told me, she's like, man, you weren't kidding. It was bad. I lasted about 10 minutes outside. I went back in. But yeah, no, and that's just the way it is. So you're going to see that. City's moving at two different speeds now. So now with Mandami, we're going to play Escape from New York, the home game. And like he's already, you look at New York City versus Florida, their budget is almost double what ours is, and we've got twice the people they have. Yep. And somehow we can run a state, and they can't. He's making all these promises. His Sia Weaver, she's just a mess. So this is the girl who's like, elect more communists, and home ownership is white supremacy. So I guess if you're a black guy who owns a house, you're a white supremacist somehow.
What is she? Is she the person that he put in charge of the
Office of Tenant Rights? Yeah.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
Yeah. So New York's a terrible place to be a landlord. I mean, the money's good if you're renting it, but it can be bad. So so yeah, she actually said like, elect more communists, and then somebody ambushed her, some reporter sandbagged her, and because her mom, and I get it, it's her mom, not her, but lives in some like multi-million-dollar house in Tennessee or something, like 1.5, 1.6 million, and she started crying. But yeah, she's a mess, and this is only going to get worse. He's going to drive, he's not going to be able to make all the stuff free that he says he's going to make free. He's not. I mean, they're going to put in those. The cost of those one supermarket per borough.
So I have that here. Let's see.
It's already 8 figures.
It's let's see. Where do we got it? We got Mamdani promises to open city-run grocery stores. That promise disappeared from the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
100 days later, not one store exists. He allocated $70 million to scout locations, and not a single location has been approved. They haven't broke ground on any construction of these supermarkets. Like basically, I'll bet you $70 million went into some corrupt fuck's pocket to say that they were scouting locations. They probably drove around in a town car and didn't do shit. You know.
Yeah, I kind of wonder about that. They can't 70 million just to scout locations. Can that even be right? I don't know. But yeah, no, big government. You know, I kind of wonder about the Somali stuff going on because you look at the Feeding Our Future fraud, right? And then there was the daycare fraud, right? That's been going on for decades. It's going to be over $1 billion by the time it's all said and done. It's just being exported. There was probably about 10 years ago, there was a story on the news about like these guys were leaving Minneapolis, St. Paul, and basically flying to Somalia with bags of cash, which is not illegal if it's more than
At
10,000.
Jamie Hartnett 9620 said, "On my way to Vegas, dude."
All right, Jamie, I hope you have a great time in Sin City. I hope you packed a lot of clothes. You're going to be going out a lot. I hope you have a lot of, remember, stay hydrated. I hope you packed honey and something to coat your throat with. I would suggest honey and maybe like jasmine tea or lemon tea, because your throat is gonna be like gone by the end of your trip. And but yeah, like I definitely remember to take a lot of nutrients, absorb a lot of calories, because you're gonna be pushing your body to some crazy limits. So,
and you won't notice it. Yeah.
You're gonna have a fun time though.
It's a dry heat, so you won't notice it. Pro tip for anyone going to Vegas in the summer: if you wear contacts, bring some eye drops. Okay. Your eyes will dry out, and you won't even notice it because
my lips were like super chapped when I was there. So I
Jamie Hartnett 9620 said, "Only going for the summit, not for a week, haha."
Gotcha. All right. Well, still, you're probably not going to be used to the conditions, because you're coming from Edmonton, Canada, going down to like the desert. So I would try and get some chapstick before. I would try and get as much stuff as I could before arriving in Vegas, because once you arrive in Vegas, everything costs like 1,000% more.
Pro tip: Carmex, not chapstick.
Carmex, okay, that's like lip balm.
It's for like cold sore stuff, but you can have like the worst dried out cracked lips, and you put that on them, and overnight everything's perfect. So yeah, no, Carmex will really protect your lips in the winter and in the heat, the dry heat.
So what ends up really happening in all economic conditions is trickle down economics. Is like when you threaten to attack and hurt and wound the billionaires, that just trickles down to the middle class. So his entire promise, Mamdani's, was that he was going to tax the rich. Anyone who earns over $1 million is going to get taxed out the ass. And what ends up happening is all those people, like the thing about rich people is they're not cemented to their surroundings. They can get up and they can leave. They're usually not extremely like tied to their material possessions. They can just fucking sell the house and be, sell it to a friend or whatever. Be like, hey, you can live here. It's just your name's gonna be on the deed, and like you got to watch over all my shit. I'm going to fucking Miami. I'm going to like Scottsdale. I'm going to Austin, and I'm taking all my money with me. So that 9.5% property tax ends up trickling down to anyone who earns $122,000 a year or more, which is basically that's like lower middle class in New York City. I'm sure there's like 7 million couples that are married that are earning $122,000 combined.
Oh, yeah. If you're making $122,000 in Manhattan, you're poor.
Yeah.
By comparison. I think if you look at the Clinton tax hikes back in the early 90s, I'll only tax millionaires. I think if you look at who taxes went up on, it went down to like $50K at least. Like it wasn't, who you thought it was or who you promised it to be. But and you can say, okay, well, the multi-million penthouse apartment's still going to be there, it's still going to be taxed, but you are going to lose payroll taxes. because people are going to leave, and I don't know what those jobs are going to be replaced by. And that doesn't, and the government has an infinite capacity to spend.
Yeah.
So, even if they're like, even if taxes are keeping up, they're always going to overspend, which is why we have the federal deficit that we have.
Yeah.
So, because it's cutting is hard. And on the federal level, right, you have a constituency against two of the three options, right? So if you raise taxes, right, if you cut benefits, a lot of people are going to scream about that. If you raise taxes, a lot of people with political power, smaller group, but a lot of people with political power are going to scream about that. But the one thing you can do is inflate the debt away, so they're killing the dollar.
Yeah.
Right, which is why everything seems like it's a lot more expensive, because in nominal dollars it is, but in real dollars it isn't.
I love the story you told me about the girl that you were dating, and she was explaining to you the value of cryptocurrency, and you were like, I don't like cryptocurrency. It's backed in nothing. It's an intangible asset. Why don't you tell the story?
Oh yeah, this is like 10 years ago though. Like everyone was like, Bitcoin, what was that? Like I should have bought everything when it was a nickel. So the girl was European, and the way I tell this, it's important to the story, as you'll see. But yeah, because I was like, I don't understand, like, what's backing this up? And she goes, nothing, just like your dollars.
Yeah.
Or I said, there's nothing backing this up. And she said, yeah, like exactly like your dollars. And she was right. Because, Nixon took us off the gold standard. You used to be able to take $1 and get $1 worth of gold at any bank. But they went off it in part because people were converting, foreigners were converting their dollars to gold and just redeeming it. But yeah, Nixon, the problem with Bretton Woods is there was no way for the dollar to depreciate. So we went off the gold standard, and we just never got back on it because cheap money is addictive.
Yeah.
So because Nixon didn't intend to keep us off the gold standard, just like he didn't intend the foreign aid we were giving to Israel and Egypt to be permanent. Like he was actually a brilliant guy. If you watch some of the stuff like from the Nixon library, they put out videos that's topical to whatever's going on. And he was talking about that. And I was like, first, the guy's brilliant, which a lot of the guys back then were, right? Compared to like the, emotional children we have in government now. Maybe it's just because I'm older. But in any case, he'll talk about stuff and you're like, man, this guy was on fire. Like he's so smart. But, you look at kind of like, if you're like, bro, if you knew what was going to happen, you never would have taken this off the gold standard. But yeah, so it went.
I pay a lot of attention to the stock market, and basically your time in the stock market, your chances of profiting in the stock market continue to go up the more time that you have. Like you could even probably have like a portfolio of junk, like fucking. I mean, Intel. Like Intel's a bad example because Intel's having a great year, but like you could have a portfolio of Intel and Best Buy and Bed Bath and Beyond and Blockbuster and fucking Target or whatever crappy companies. Like if you just stay in the stock market long enough, there's a good chance that you're gonna make money, especially if you want to just have a passive strategy and just put your money in the S&P 500. It will balance it for you, and you don't even have to look at it. I was just looking at every single like 5-year chart. Every single company that I looked at was worth like 5 to 10 times what it was worth 5 years ago. Like,
well, what was the inflation rate, right?
Exactly.
You're looking at it in nominal dollars.
Yeah.
But yeah, and without dividends, you basically want to be in tax protected accounts to the extent that you can be, and you want dividend stocks because you take away the dividend and a lot of the gains go away. I mean, at this point, and I haven't, I've been doing other stuff with my cash, but rather than buying and holding, I guess I have a couple IRAs that I've just bought and held, like Microsoft and Google and Apple. Like I've got a few of those where it's just like, that's what's in those and that's buy and hold forever. And then sometimes I write covered calls off of them. I was making a lot of money on Tesla for that for a while, but that was before. See, the problem with that was Musk started getting political, and that creates a lot of asymmetric risk. So, like Tim Walz would joke about, I want to feel good. I look at Tesla, it's gone down, and ha ha ha. And, okay, you're an idiot, but yeah, so that created asymmetric risk. Because what I figured out was it was better to own stock because towards option expiration, it would run up and then it would open up on Monday, 10 points lower. So you could sell it on Friday. It's in a tax deferred account, so wash sales don't apply.
Yeah.
So you'd sell on Friday and you'd buy back on Monday at a 10% discount. Sometimes 5%, but yeah.
So I wanted to talk about this strategy of selling covered calls and cash secured puts, and first of all, can you explain to me and to all the viewers, because some of us might be like complete novices in investing, they might have can you explain what it is, like you're talking to a bunch of kindergartners?
Sure. Now, I'm going to say, because I'm trained as an attorney, I'm not giving you financial advice. I'm just explaining my view, and that's it. Do not rely on what I tell you. Go make your own decisions. Get a financial advisor, do that. So with covered calls, I'll talk about covered calls. I'll let you handle the other one. But covered calls is you own the stock, and you are selling the right to purchase it, right? So if I own a stock, you can sell in each unit is 100 shares. So if you have 100 shares of stock, you can sell one unit. And you just pick a price. You look at there's of course real super technical ways to do it. I kind of take a look at where it's been and where I think it's likely to go, and then I try to pick something where. So if let's say I've got a stock that's trading at $100 a share, and I sell a covered call, and it can be for whatever time periods they offer. It can be 3 weeks, can be a month, whatever it is. It can be 6 months. I sell a covered call. So I'm selling the right to purchase that stock at $110. And that's going to work if and let's say I paid a premium. I'm going to say that the premium is $2 just for ease of mathematics, right? So I will make the $2. And then so long as I'm right and the stock price stays below the strike price, right? So the stock price, it starts off at 100, the strike price is 110, and I get the option premium to for the right to buy my shares of stock. So if it goes up to 111, that price, that stock, those options are going to be exercised at the 110 price. I will keep the run up, right? But anything above that, above the strike price, now belongs to the person who bought it. So, or exercise the option. So I'm essentially selling the right to take profit above the strike price to whoever buys the covered call. And you can make money doing that, and you could lose your stock too.
Yeah.
So I've had stock called away. It's funny. I had Tesla called away. I was usually pretty good at that time at figuring out what the right price was going to be, and I once had it close like 62 cents above. Yeah. Well, it doesn't matter because it's a tax deferred account, so it didn't make any difference, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I lost the 62 cents times the number of shares that I'd written covered. I think I probably had 700 shares then. So 62 cents per share times 700.
Oh man.
Well, it wasn't that big of a deal.
Yeah,
but I don't have any of the tax consequences because it was in a tax deferred account. So that only matters when I take it out. So yeah, see, the other thing about that is if you're doing it in a cash account, you're you could have tax consequences based on what your basis is and what you sell the stock for. And if you're in a cash account, you will have. I mean, it'll be income on the option premium. And so now,
the rule is that to write a contract of covered calls, you must possess in your possession at least 100 shares of.
Well, you have to possess all the shares that you sell units of, right? So if you're selling one contract, right? So one contract is 100 shares.
Yeah.
So if I sell 7 contracts and I've got 700 shares, right? Then that's the covered part of the covered call. I own the stock.
Yeah.
And if you're doing a naked call, then you don't, and you could get to have to buy that stock to cover it.
Okay.
So yeah. So and by the way, you have to be approved by your broker to do this.
Yeah.
You don't. Yeah, so when I've been trading long enough, I just said I want the level 3 bullshit or whatever they called it. Like I wanted the ability to do everything, but I'm really only going to write covered calls. And I've been doing it enough. I said to the guys, when I filled out the thing, they're like, what do you want this for? I said, I'm just going to write covered calls, but I want the ability to do something else if I see an opportunity in the market. But day to day, I'm going to write covered calls, and it's going to be what's in my account, and that's that.
And now what's the typical duration? Like,
Oh, it can be anything. You can buy them. I mean, it's going to be what they offer you, right? You can't set it yourself.
Yeah.
But it could be 3 weeks. It could be 6 months. It could be a year. Like
What
they usually,
what do you usually choose to?
It depends. Like
Okay.
there's no set formula for me. I tried to keep it like back when I was doing with Tesla and I had my finger on the pulse a little more. I would do them like I'd sell calls for a month. Like so, I would sell a call with the intent to having it clear in the next month. And I was making about 5 G's a month doing it.
Okay.
Which was all in my IRA, right? So it's not like I was making 5 G's that I could keep. I mean, I still have it, but it's still in a tax deferred account. Like I can't take it out.
That's still great. Like fucking.
Well, yeah, you can make money doing it. See, the problem being is, like I said, if you have those shares called away, you're going to have tax consequences based on the sale price versus your basis price.
Yeah.
And because the other thing is that you also have wash sales. If you sell and then you turn around and you buy it again within, I think it's 30 days of the limit, but I just don't do that in cash accounts. So for me, it didn't make any difference because I'm in a tax deferred account and I can do what I want. I just can't take the money out.
Yeah.
So I was just adding to my Tesla portfolio at that point. And then, there were some, all good things must end. And there came a point where that became less profitable, I was also buying refiners because there was one point I was working in energy at the time and the Congress just got frustrated and just said, we're not exporting oil anymore. So the corporate structure, and I forget what it's called now, but the corporate structure for refiners wasn't just like wasn't a C Corp. So they would have to pay out like 90% of their profits and you get a K1 at the end of the year. And the net effect of all this was they were paying out 40% dividends.
That's crazy.
It was nuts. And it's not something that's going to repeat, which is too bad.
Okay. So now most of these oil and gas companies are paying like a 4 or 5% dividend normal.
This was particular to refiners, and you had to have a particular corporate form. It wasn't Exxon or Chevron.
Okay.
So there was a particular corporate form, and one of the requirements was that you pay out like 90% of your profits or something as dividends. And so you could make 30-40% just because of the way the regulatory scheme, because Congress got mad because they're like, why are we pumping all this oil and the prices are so high? And then they're like, screw that, we're just not letting you export it, which was not great for a couple reasons, because there were some of the countries in the hemisphere send oil to us to be refined, and that counts as an export when you send it out. But it was never intended for sale in the United States. Okay. So the company I worked for at the time was transporting oil, among other things. So we had to put the brakes on and figure out what we were going to do. It wasn't, we were just transporting it, so it wasn't really our problem. It's a force majeure situation. So you just say to the owner, like, okay, what do you want us to do with the oil? Because we can't send it to America now. But so covered calls, it's not that complex. And, this way you're not jammed up. Like you have to go buy shares to cover your, they're not going to let you do that out of the gate anyway. Like you have to, I had to get qualified. Like if I tried to sell more than I had, I doubt they would let me do it, even though I've got whatever clearances I need. So in fact, I tried to do it once just to see what would happen, and they wouldn't let me set the transaction. Okay. And I'm fine with that because I don't care. I just want to, I want to be low and slow and safe. Yeah. And that kind of stuff,
I want to be, I also want to be low and slow and safe, but I want to be a little higher, faster, and riskier than the absolute minimum of risk like tolerance, because
that's your madman. Like how old a guy are you? In your 20s?
34.
34. So you're getting a little bit older, but you still got a lot of the most valuable currency in the world, which is time. Yeah. So if you make a mistake, you can fix it, right? If I make a mistake, well, I'm looking down the barrel at 60. Like, I don't know how many, and really, like, you see an old guy, like, they're like, inside them as a young person go, what the hell happened? But yeah, so.
And anyway. Guys, in case, I'll explain the other side of this, which is cash secured puts. So for covered calls, you need to possess the calls in order to sell them. And if the price of the underlying asset were to go up to the strike price that you are selling the contract for, then those shares are liquidated out of your portfolio and they are given to the buyer. Now, a cash secured put, it is called cash secured because you need to have the cash to purchase that asset if it were to go down to the strike price of the put contract that is pertaining to the underlying asset. So they're just so basically when you buy a covered call, you don't want the price to go up. When you sell a cash secured put, you don't want the price to go down. So I think covered calls are kind of like a nice. I think covered calls are a little bit safer, I guess, because like I guess they're but it's just like what asset are you dealing with, and a lot of people don't have the capital in their account to do cash secured puts. I guess a lot of people don't have the equity to do covered calls though. So it's kind of like an investment strategy that is like very overlooked, but the really financially wealthy people tend to capitalize on these strategies because it's like relatively low risk and like it's a good way to grow your money that you already have built.
Yeah, I was always going to make a certain amount of profit. Like in the example I gave, you'd make 10% profit, right? Because you get the run up to the strike price. So you make 10%. It's just you don't want that stock to take off, and then it's at 134, and you've given up 24 points worth of gain. But from a investor perspective, you made 10%. You can go put that cash into something else now. But I was looking for a way to kind of make a little money beyond the buy and hold strategy, because that money was not. I mean, I still can't touch it because I'm not 59 and a half yet. But that money was just always going to be invested, and I thought, well, I'll sell some covered calls, make a little extra cash off those securities, and just kind of advance my cause a little more.
So if let's say I'll just do like a really super quick like explanation of my portfolio, and I'll leave out the ones that are just like little tiny little fucking. So I have 49 Lockheed Martin shares. I have 25 McDonald's shares, 21 Google shares, 20 Apple shares, 20 Palantir shares, 77 Coke shares, 31 Altria shares, 30 British Tobacco shares, 37 SoFi shares, and 685 Ford shares. If I wanted to get into this, would you suggest that I like file for permissions first and then just start like go into town on my Ford shares to like
how many? I didn't catch all the numbers. Do you have anything with more than 100 shares?
Just Ford with 685.
Right. So you basically have so you can sell up to 6 contracts of covered calls with Ford, and that's it. You basically have a bunch of odd lot positions.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Dividend reinvestment stuff, or were you just adding to the position? How'd you wind up with so many odd lot shares?
I just buy one share at a time, pretty much.
Okay, well, that's all right, and I understand. So you're basically building a portfolio, because I do that with like my dividends. I'll just buy extra shares or whatever, and pretty soon I was doing that with Tesla with the money I was making off the covered calls, and pretty soon I had an extra 100 shares.
Yeah,
because I pick up 5 or 10 each time, and you keep doing that, and then soon you have more, and that's another covered call you can get. So yeah, I don't know what Ford's I don't know what the option premiums are for Ford. So it could be, if you have a low volatility on the stock, you may not be making a lot of money off of the covered calls, but it's, it's better than a sharp stick in the eye. I would look and see what their, you can't do anything until you have your broker, you file with your broker and say, I want to do this, and they give you the appropriate permissions on your just on your internet site to be able to do it. But yeah, you could. Are those held in an IRA, or are they is it a cash account?
That's just in my Southern Fidelity brokerage account, just a regular.
Okay, so it's regular cash account. Yeah. So the risk that you're going to have is that if those shares get called away, that becomes a taxable event for you.
Well, I have you could call it a privilege or you could call it a detriment, but I have the tax advantage of last year losing fucking. We'll conservatively say I lost at least like $40,000 in the market last year. So that can I can put all of my gains in for as long as it takes to overcompensate for that 50,000 or it is basically like 50,000. Like, yeah, so like as long as it takes me to like overcome that loss, I don't have to worry about gains.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying that in general, you would have to in a cash account.
Yeah.
So another thing you could do is, if I don't know what you have for an IRA, but you could donate, up to, or not donate, but you can, I think you can do that as like kind. So you may not have to liquidate them first and put in the cash, but you could build out a retirement portfolio, and then you can trade it.
Okay, so I always wondered this. I can so like you're allowed like 7,000 a year in a Roth IRA.
I guess, I don't know.
And I can transfer like $7,000 worth of stock from one brokerage account to the other.
Before you do that, make sure that you can. I assume that you can, as long as that's the value of the day off. But all I know about taxes is I don't like paying them. So I would talk to an accountant first, but I would not be shocked if you could just transfer the securities, but you may not be able to. I do not know, because I've never had to do that, because back when these were starting out, I was just putting money in and eventually I could buy stocks. Like the technology had to catch up, right? Because I used to like call brokers on telephones and put in orders, and you just don't do that now.
Yeah.
So I think probably you can, but like everyone does it online. So I would, I don't give out tax advice. I mean, I barely give out legal advice anymore, but I certainly don't give out tax advice. So I would check that to be sure, but I would not be surprised if you can. It's just not something you've ever done. Maybe you can. Who knows?
Well, I do also have 500 Ford shares in my Roth IRA, so I could like.
Oh yeah, no, you could do that today. You could, as long as you have that held at Fidelity, you could trade those today.
So if I really wanted to get started, I could like first get the permission from both brokerages, and then I could be selling covered calls on 11. Yeah, I could be selling 11 different contracts.
You could, but I would tell you to stay in your Roth. You don't, like, in case like if you're just starting out, you want to get good at it first, and even then, you're not going to be able to predict the market all the time.
Yeah.
So in any case, if you are doing this way, if you're in a Roth, if you make a mistake and you would otherwise have a taxable event, you won't, because it's in a Roth IRA. Now,
at Jamie Hartnett 9620 said, "I've just started being an active investor."
Good. I'm glad for you. And like I'll be your cheerleader every step of the way. Like if you ever want to bounce ideas off of me, like, and get creative. Like Uncle Vaz said, like we got time on our side, so we can take some risks. And like before you take a big risk, like just bounce the idea off of me, and maybe I've made the same mistake, and I'll be like, nah, I wouldn't do that, or like just things to consider.
Yeah, the problem is don't be too smart.
Yeah,
yeah. So there's active traders tend to lose money more than passive traders.
Yeah.
So there's a guy named John Bogle, I think his name was, who ran Vanguard funds.
Yes, I love him. He's a great speaker. I love him.
I would start with him and like the Bogleheads, because they'll basically say buy the whole market.
Yeah.
And hold it forever.
Yep.
And that's kind of the Warren Buffett theory.
Yeah.
And Peter Lynch wrote One Up on Wall Street. A lot of that will be so dated now based on.
No, but it's still like there's still like. I still like all three of those guys that you just mentioned are like three of my heroes. Like Peter Lynch, he's got great advice, and have you ever heard of the kindergarten experiment that he did?
Oh, was that St. Agnes?
Yeah. So he had
he basically put the kids in charge of it, and they did pretty well because they
outperformed a lot of like Wall Street hedge funds, like because he would not buy anything. He would not buy anything that couldn't be explained by a kindergarten class, and he would make the kids like write with their crayons like a presentation to give, and the kids would be like, buy Pepsi because this is what Pepsi is, or buy Crayola because this is what Crayola is. And if a kindergarten could not understand what the asset was and explain it, he would not buy it. And so they just they made a fund of all of these presented assets given by the St. Agnes kindergarten, and it outperformed like much of Wall Street.
Yeah, he also, I think he would go out with his wife and his daughter to like the Burlington Mall. I assume it's still around. It was a big shopping mall, retail mall in Massachusetts. And he would kind of see where people were shopping, like what stores were busy and what weren't. So I think I want to say he got into Bath and Body Works. I could be wrong. I could be talking about a different stock, but he was like, yeah, my wife and my daughter loved it. And I went in with them and there were all these women in buying stuff. And I went, no, this might be something to invest in.
Yeah.
So I think he did a lot of his stuff that way. Who is it? It's Buffett who said, I think Buffett said this too. It's like, if you're the smartest guy in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's better to, he has another great line, which was, if you have an IQ of 125, sell 25 points to somebody else and just trade like your average. Yeah. So, when I talk about this stuff, you got to understand it, and you should not be putting your entire portfolio into, handful of Magic Beans Inc. So, and again, I haven't been doing a lot of stock investing lately, but I would probably look at the Magnificent Seven because they're what's driving the entire market. At least it was.
I'm also not a fiduciary, but I was giving financial advice to guys the other day, and I said just buy semiconductors. Like I was stupid, and about a year ago I bought Micron at like $70 a share. And I don't know if anybody was paying attention to the market today. Micron went up $100 today.
Wow.
It's now at like 700 or something like that. I bought Micron 1 year ago at 70. I sold it like an idiot, like a dope. But Micron would have 10x'd my investment in 1 year. And now it's at 746.81 a share, and it's gone up like.
Did you make money on the sale?
I didn't even. It was so stupid.
Oh.
Like but like Micron's not the only one. Broadcom's doing great. Fucking Intel's doing great. Nvidia's doing great. AMD's doing great. Like even SanDisk. Like SanDisk is the darling of the market this year. It's not even all use microprocessors. That's like micro memory chips for like cameras and shit like that. But they're up to like 1,500 a share and shit like that. Like, if you don't know, just like identify a trend that's happening in the world and just invest in it. Like, I don't think you can go wrong investing in the loneliness epidemic too. Like, if you can invest in women's loneliness after the age of 50 or men's loneliness.
Wine,
yeah, exactly. Like cat food, boxed wine, you're gonna be a rich man.
Yeah, it's funny because I was going to tell you about Domino's Pizza. I bought it between 9 and 16, and then I sold it in the 50s because I was buying a house.
Yeah.
And I love the house. It's a great house, but it was not as good an investment as Domino's Pizza because Domino's today is trading at 323.
Wow.
But it was up around 400 last time I checked it, so it's come down a bit. Yeah, Domino's was doing two things, which is one, they had a great comeback story, which is the kind Wall Street hates and Main Street loves. Like Domino's had a bad reputation, and they just said, this isn't acceptable. We're not doing this way anymore. They ran some specials. They said, hey, we're trying to do better. And Main Street is used to being lied to.
Yeah.
So if someone acknowledges the fact that they were terrible, which they were, I mean, everyone knew it, and they said, hey, we're going to try to do better, they'll give you an even break. So they went up, and they also opened up in India. And there's 1.3 billion Indians. Now, you can't sell meat lovers pizza there, but you can sell vegetarian pizza, and the Indians loved it.
And Indians have like a very low threshold for quality. So like that slop on a cornmeal fucking I mean, I'm a pizza snob, so like I would never disgrace my body with Domino's pizza. But like I'm sure
bought the stock.
Yeah. I'm sure there's a billion Indians that don't care about their pot bellies getting a little bit bigger and more inflamed, and they would love to shovel that garbage into themselves.
Buddy of mine who's Indian said, he was telling me about it. It's like, they opened up here, and Indians are crazy for this. So I went, I bet there's a lot of Indians and a lot of pizza. So I did. I should have held on to it. It went up a lot. But yeah, so I'm going to give some fair play to the liberals now, which is one thing where taxes that are not getting captured. This, as I understand it, and I could be wrong, but my understanding is This strategy was
At
invented
Jamin
by,
Hartnett 9620 said, talking about investments. I'm a teacher and I'm wondering about the solvency of my pension for the long term here in Saskatchewan. Canada flag of Canada.
Well,
yeah, I don't know about how Saskatchewan is, but unfunded pensions are a big issue in the United States.
yeah.
And right now, Connecticut and Illinois are in a race to see if a state can go bankrupt because they have severely underfunded their public, not just teachers, but their public services pensions.
Oh,
And
speaking of teachers speaking of teachers pensions, this reminds me of the main theme of the day, which is the fucking idiot that is Zoran the moron Mamdani. And obviously when his budget started to like go into the danger zone, what was the first place that he raided for the money? The teachers' pensions. All those liberal yuppie teachers that voted him in, then he like repaid the favor by stealing all their hard-earned retirement money. I thought that was funny.
It's all IOUs. That's what they did with the Social Security Fund in the 80s, is they'd spend out of that and just put IOUs. Now, eventually, we're just going to have to mint like a $7 trillion coin and just pay ourselves back. But yeah, so but fair play to the left on this, not on teachers' pension, but in terms of taxes, there's a tax strategy, and if you remember Sam Bankman-Fried, who ran that thing, he loaned all his money to his extremely ugly girlfriend who ran it right into the ground. Like he just trusted her. He didn't do any kind of checks on what her ideas were. So in any case, I call him scam Bankman fraud, but in any case, his parents were tax professors at Stanford, and as I understand it, they invented this strategy. So and our tax system was not designed with billionaires in mind, right? It was designed to tax income and not wealth.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're rich enough like Jeff Bezos and Musk, and I don't know who does this and who doesn't, but you can pledge your shares and borrow money. And because you are so fabulously wealthy, you can borrow billions of dollars off the value of your shares. And that's a loan. So you're not paying tax on it.
Yep. This is like, I don't like, it's basically arbitrage, and I used to think it was like stupid because I know like a few people that did this with their like investment accounts, and I was like, that's really stupid. But the more that I like research it, it's a very viable thing to do, is so long as you're not stupid with the cash that you get. Yeah,
right. It's like when another Warren Buffett is, and when the tide goes out, you find out who's swimming naked.
Yeah.
So if you have crazy amounts of money, you can borrow against that. You get a deduction probably off of the interest that you pay, and you have access to all your wealth without having to pay taxes. So if you're, that's why these guys can work for $1 a year, and then because they don't care because they get all the founder stock.
Yeah.
So I know in the Netherlands they treat that as income. So there's a point at which, and I don't think that, I think there's a little nuance to it. So I think that, because you could do that with a home equity loan if you get a big enough house. But so I think there should be a cutoff, right? Like above X million dollars is when it kicks in, because you don't want to get the guy who's still working for it, right? You want to get the guy who's worth, 50 billion or 10 million, whatever it is. So, for those guys, there ought to be some kind of way to realize some taxes on that, because our tax system was not designed with billionaires in mind. So I think there's a little fair play to the left on that, to say that, we should capture some of this as income because it's perfectly legal tax avoidance, right? Because tax avoidance, tax evasion is illegal, and tax avoidance is not only perfectly legal, it's a moral obligation and a constitutional right.
Yeah.
So they're not legally doing anything wrong, but they are kind of, that is violating the spirit of the law. Of course, the spirit is not what gets enforced, but I would be in favor of finding a way to capture some of that, because that isn't really fair. Right. That's it. And I'm not saying I wouldn't do it if I was them, but because they are finding a way to legally avoid paying taxes. But we got a lot of stuff we can pay for. Of course, there's a lot of fraud that needs to get paid for too, right? But
I wonder what kind of what kind of interest they're being charged. Like, is it like,
no idea? It's probably de minimis. To them, it doesn't matter, right? Because you're gonna.
You think it's like you think it's like less than 4%, like less than?
I have no idea, but it would have to be low, because you're getting. So if you're the bank doing this, and I don't know how they would price up their loans, but if you're looking at this, you're going, okay, what's the chance that Amazon goes to zero? And we're extending, we're making X amount of money off of X amount of dollars that he loaned, he borrows. So, I would bet you stack them deep and sell them cheap, because the risk is low, because he can pledge well beyond whatever he takes out. You might just have a revolving credit facility.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, you'd have to. I don't price these up for banks, but I would bet that they're fairly favorable. It's like when GE and Goldman Sachs, during the financial crisis, when they went cap in hand to Warren Buffett. Buffett cut his own deal. Like, they went to him because they knew they could do a deal with one person. There's one decision maker. They could do a deal with him. He's sitting on a lot of cash. But he got a sweetheart deal. He got a bunch of warrants that he could exercise well below the stock price.
Mm-hmm.
And he made a good deal for them. He made a good deal for his investors. He made a bad deal for existing investors in the individual stock. But yeah, so you kind of have to look at it that way. But I would not be averse to that somehow being taxed, because, like I said, we weren't. No one.
At Gallo Chingan said, "Hey homie."
Yo, what's up, Gaio?
Hey, there he is. Yeah, he's a good guy.
It's funny, we know Gaio?
In passing, yeah, with the same place you know him from. So
that's pretty cool.
I watched his episode that you sent to me, and a lot of the stuff there's a lot of stuff I find congruent with him, because I'm kind of in the same space, only less dramatically. Like, I'm more of a lone wolf.
Can we switch our topic away from finance and start talking about like some of that Gaio Chin? I don't even want to butcher his name. So what are
his last name?
Some Gaio Chingyang concepts. So what are some contrarian views that you have about intersexual dynamics and about dating and stuff like that?
So just in general, or how do I agree with a lot of what he said. There's a couple places that my experience is different from his experience. Mm-hmm. So I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm saying I've just, was swimming in a different pool. So I think he said the two things that he would run into with women with fantasies was they wanted either kind of rough sex or to be tied up. And then the other thing for him was spit roasting. Right? the girls were into that, or the Eiffel Tower. For me, it was, we're together on they want to get tied up bit. And then the other thing was they want to do another girl, but they need a guy in the room so that they can go, I'm edgy and exploring, and not what if I'm a giant lesbo. So I would run into that a lot of bisexual girls, because bisexual girls tend to be a little flaky. And so, okay, one of the things we haven't done any of the stuff I was like going to talk about, like fitness, fun, fucking, and finances. So I'll just go a little bit through that, and then I'll tie into the BDSM portion of the show. So if you're a young guy starting out, one thing you can absolutely control is your level of fitness. And, that means find something that you can work out doing, because it's going to be no easier time for you to get in shape than right now when you're young. So work on your fitness. You can Google, if you can't afford a gym, you can Google body weight exercises, and you can do it that way. You can learn how to do what's called power yoga in the States, which is really Ashtanga yoga, but they call it power yoga to get men to do it.
At Jamie Harknett 9620 said, "Thanks, man, will do."
And you should also learn how to swim, because as you get older, swimming is going to be your friend.
Yeah.
Right. Because eventually the warranty will run out on your knees, and that jogging that you're doing, it's going to do some damage. But you can swim when you're 90.
Yeah.
And, it takes pressure off your joints, and it's a good aerobic exercise. I was a competitive swimmer for years. Worked out great for me. And also 80% of everything that goes wrong in your life in the fitness realm goes into your mouth. So you need to eat clean, stay away from processed crap and all the microplastics. And proper dental care is essential.
Yeah.
Do not cheat on your teeth. I get a cleaning every 3-4 months. Like,
really?
They pay for, the dental insurance will pay for one every 6 months, but you go every 3 months, you never have a problem. But don't skimp on your oral health, because a lot of bad stuff that happens to you goes in through your mouth. And don't smoke.
Yeah.
Right? Like everyone, I was like, now that I'm in my late 50s, I was looking at pictures of my dad when he was my age. I look a lot better than he did. I mean, he was in fairly good shape, but he'd been a smoker when he was younger, when he was in the military. And you could tell I've aged much better. Now, some of that's probably nutrition, but I was never a smoker. So stay away from things that age you. Like, men can age like fine wine, but they can also age like heroin and cigarettes. So stay away.
So you are an or an uncle, and that's like I would consider an like anyone in between like 45 and 55, right?
Yeah,
and
I try to help young guys. Yeah, that's what I did.
And what do you think about because like I think we've all experienced this.
At Gallo Chingan said, CNC and DP, though technically Eiffel Tower spit roast is correct. In my experience, they only like the idea of DP, something to rub one out to, not actually do.
Really?
Big time, because they don't actually want to do they don't want to do that top part of the doggy of the DP.
Do you know what CNC is?
Consensual non-consent, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I used to get girls who, let me just finish on this. I'll get to the fucking part. So fitness, so stay away from cigarettes, too much booze, things that age you. Yeah. Cigarettes, drugs, too much booze, and in my case, women my own age. If you're an old guy and you can date young women, fucking date young women, because the old broads will age the fuck out of you, because they want you moving slow like they are, right? There's a reason most women get married at 29, and it's because at 30 the balance of power flips.
Yep.
So, in my case, I'm very lucky. I'm a tall guy. And sometimes women cannot tell the difference between a guy who's tall and a guy who's cute, right? It's just the height mass. Now, I did not have my father's godlike height. He was like 6'5". But, the other things that are going to help you is competence.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Often confused with its sexy cousin, confidence. So competence, if you are good at things, if you are good at, if you can handle adversity, if you can make a plan, if you can stick to the plan, if it's like if a girl asks, if I take a girl out and she says, do you need, my help planning a date? I'm like, fuck no. I look at her like she farted in church. And I just go, look, I'm the man and you're the girl. I will do all the planning. And they usually go, oh, thank God. But yeah, so, it's your job to be the man, your job to handle, and leave a little room for Miles Davis, right? A little room for improvisation. Okay. But have a plan for we were talking about Jessica Sporty earlier. If you're, a lot of guys are on the apps now. I try to be in 3 dimensions because on the apps, I'm just an old guy. But in 3 dimensions, they're going to see my height. They're going to be able to judge my intelligence, my personality, that kind of thing. And women can smell success on you. I was in a hardware store once, and this woman asked, she goes, "You're a lawyer, aren't you?" And I was dressed like doing chores on Saturday, and that's why I was at the hardware store. I was like, yeah, how could you tell? I don't have soft hands. So, it can't be that. And she said to me, well, soft hands is how a man would tell. But what she said was, it was your glasses. They notice everything. I had on some Lindbergh frames that are just, without their frameless wireless rims. And she's like, yeah, like working men don't wear glasses like that. So I figured you were either like a lawyer or an accountant, but you're not built like an accountant.
So one strategy that I employ is I literally try and look opposite to every other man that they encounter in a day. Because I'll make a sweeping generalization on every man that they encounter in a day. They go out to a fine jazz lounge or a nightclub or wherever the men might be. Every man's going to be wearing a navy blue suit or a black suit or a charcoal gray suit, and he's gonna have he's gonna have probably like a white shirt and maybe a tie, probably not a tie. So I go out, I'm wearing green suits, I'm wearing electric blue suits, I'm wearing purple suits, I'm wearing pink suits, I'm wearing white suits. I try and catch them off guard but I still. They still fit me, still very form flattering. I don't look like a clown, but I am wearing a very bright, flashy suit. The glasses. I will basically just try and be I have a very naturally a pretty loud voice. I don't know how to whisper, and sometimes it's a little high pitched, but and I just try and catch them off guard with how boisterous and bombastic and how loud I can look and sound, and that way, I never. I'll let this chat come in, but I'm never overlooked as the quiet nice guy in a room ever.
I got it. Yeah.
At Jamie Harknett 9620 said, "Hey man, you might want to invest in next gen mining. They have the second richest uranium deposit in the world coming online next year in northern Saskatchewan, 7 million pounds of uranium ore."
Interesting. Do they?
That's a lot.
Jamie, if you're able to do your research, I'll put them on my watch list. do they have a dividend or let me know if they have a dividend, because I really like investing in stocks that have a dividend. I can count on one hand all the stocks that I have with no dividend. So
yeah, that makes a difference in the value over time.
Yeah.
But back on point here. So stay away from things that age you, like cigarettes, booze, drugs, and women your own age. Stay away from that. Like, and you gotta look. Can you score as a heavy dude? Yeah. Is it easy? No. Like, be in decent shape. Just show up. Like, be in decent shape for yourself.
Yep.
So you feel good as a man. Like, I mean, I couldn't do what I do. Like, my girls are all in their 20s, and every so often, the one in her 30s who's kept herself in exceptional shape will drop in, and I'm in my 50s.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't just happen, right? It's because I understand game, I understand psychology. I don't have a big gut hanging over my belt. I'm not a fat slob.
Yeah.
And I'm competent. And another thing is, like, have a couple things that you're good at that you can talk about.
Yeah.
Right. So, I write, record, and perform original music, and I've got music out on streaming apps. And if I'm out with a girl and she'll say, what do you do for fun? I'm like, oh, I do this. And they'll say, do you have anything I can listen to? And I'm like, yeah, sure. Do you have Spotify or Apple Music? And their eyes get really big. So I actually had a girl, she was 22, 5'11", which was tasty. Oh, by the way, submission tracks with height in women, but I'll get to that. In any event, so she actually said to me on the date after I told her that, she's like, I'm going to have to evaluate how cool I think you are. But as a young guy, you should be playing a couple different types of sports. Learn to swim, absolutely. You should play an individual sport to learn self-reliance. You should play a team sport so that you can learn teamwork. For whatever reason, although I never played it as at a varsity level, it was just pickup for me. I'm good at volleyball, and I don't do so much now, but I used to play a lot of co-rec volleyball, which put me around young, fit women, which was nice. I also don't waste any time on women, because there are three kinds of young women. There's the kind that want a man a few years older, maybe 1 year younger max. That's it. Everything else is grody or whatever the kids say. There's the women who might give it up to the right older guy, but they basically want the same, like, the young Brad Pitt. Like, okay, Harrison Ford on the set of Star Wars was stripping Carrie Fisher. He was 35 and married. She was 19, right? Okay. So she's a Group B girl. She'll give it up for, like, the hot version of, like, an older guy. And then the Group C girls want a guy 10 to 12 years older. That's what they mean by older. They
want a daddy, yeah.
Well, they want a guy who's a known quantity, who isn't going to blow his cool. Another thing you should do as a guy, never, ever, ever, ever blow your cool, ever. Yelling at a woman is almost as bad as hitting her. Do not do it. You've shown that you've shown you're irresponsible. Like, don't do it. Just like, hey. And if a girl's giving you shit about something, just like, what I'll do is I'll say the most sexist thing that pops into my head. And like the girl who told me about the Bitcoin, right? She graduated from college, and I said I'd take her on I think it was in my 40s then. Yeah. So anyway, I might have been early 50s, and I met her when she was 19 and she turned 20. I was going to karaoke, and I was cleaning up because I sing. I'm not some drunk idiot who can't hold the key. Yeah. So, but in any case, yeah. So when she graduated, I said, oh, I'll take you to wherever you want to go. And she picked Paris. And I'm like, oh, why? But anyway, so we went. And so we were in a hotel I had a suite, and it had his and her bathroom. So I went into mine and grabbed a shower, came out when she was unpacking her too much stuff. And there's always a trick to the hot water in Europe. So she goes in, and she comes back out like that. She's like, the hot water doesn't work. Now I know what the trick is because I figured it out earlier. So I'm like, oh, I'll take a look at it. So I go in, I get the hot water going. I'm out 30 seconds later. I'm like, the hot water works just fine. And it's lucky you're so pretty. And then she was like, and then she walked by me. I swatted her on the ass, thereby making my victory complete. But yeah, so just something like that. Like, you remind me that women should be felt and not heard.
Did you ever see that? That reminds me. Did you ever see the videos of the married men who? I'm not advising this to anybody, but it's funny. The married men who will go around their house and they'll like turn off the hot water heater. They'll turn off the air conditioner. They'll like turn off the stove and like basically, and their wife comes running to them like, "Baby, will you do this? Will you do that?" And then they like just go in like blow the drill. like they're like fixing shit, and like they just like they turn everything back on, and their wife's there with like a plate, a sandwich, and some like chips and a beer, and she's like, "Oh, thank you, you're the best husband," and like he's just like,
oh man,
he looks like the hero.
There was one I saw today that was really funny, and it was like there's some kind of current thing where the guy's like, and I want dinner on the table, and I don't want to listen to a lot of talk, and da 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 when I come home because I'm the boss in this house, and then like I guess the part of the skit normally is the girl like turns to the camera and goes, he really said that. Now the couple that was doing it is an older guy, younger, foreign-born wife, and so he goes, when you're trying to do the current thing but your wife is foreign. And so like, I expect dinner on the table, and can you handle that? And she's like, yeah, I can handle it. And she kisses him, and he'll say something else. She's like, baby, but I made dinner. It was really funny, but yeah. So, but back on point, we were talking. What was the last thing we left off on? Was it fitness? Was that it?
And yeah, we were talking about you in the shower. You in the shower with the hot water.
Well, that story ended, which is like there was another time I was with a girl. I remember we were in San Diego, and like we could have competed in the annual competition of she can't really be his wife, can she? And she was like the 10. I called her the 10 at gate 10, although we weren't at gate 10. So our flight was delayed, and everyone's kind of frustrated. And she's complaining to me. I'm like, hey, baby, could you do that thing that you do with your mouth that I like, which is shut it and keep it closed and breathe through your nose and stop complaining? And everyone around us just breaks up, right? Because first, how am I with her? Second, how am I talking shit to a hot girl? And why is she taking, right? So, and she's looking, she's like, why is everyone laughing? I'm like, because you're the 10 at gate 10 and there's nobody in second place. So, she just needed a reality reset and understand that, like, because girls I'm with, well, they would say, like, I know you're going to take care of me. I don't know if Gaio mentioned this, but if a girl starts baby talking you, like when you're out with her, it just means she feels safe. Like she's out with her daddy.
They say, they say when a woman is acting like a child, she's with a man. When a woman is acting like a mother, she's with a boy.
Exactly. So yeah, I noticed that a lot too. There's one of my girls, I call her Blondie. She just, I think she only talks to me in baby talk because she just feels confident around me. There's another girl, she actually might be listening. I don't know if she is or not. I told her I was going to be on. Who she just likes older dudes. She's 25, and I'm like 33 years older than she is, and she just, she likes the competence, right? And I can give. She actually said to me now, I've alpha witted her because she said to me, she's like, yeah. She goes, because she went off to grad school now. She's like, guys I try to date, they seem like they're gay compared to you. And it's just because they're trying too hard, and they don't like, I just like, here's how it is. This is what we're going to do. This is the program we're on. We're going here. We're doing this. And it's like, where are we going? Like, don't worry. You'll like it when we get there, right? You just cut off the bait. And by the way, if you're a young guy now and you're asking a girl out and you're like, oh, I'll take you to wherever. If she tries to say, oh, but there's a sushi place I want to try, she's not going on the date for you, my friend. She's going on the date for sushi. Money picks the restaurant. I mean, you really shouldn't be going on dinner dates for first dates anyway.
I have a strict like no dating policy. Because I've just in my 20s, a lot of the times I would just be paying for a girl's meal, and who knows, maybe I was getting doggy bag boyed by Chad, I'll never know.
Yeah. So fitness, we covered fitness, finances, get your money straight. We talked a lot about that already. Save the first 10% that hits your hand. You're never going to miss it. And like when I first started out, I was trying to save 10 grand on my first job in the 90s. And I'm bad at math. So I estimated, and it turns out that based on what I was going to put away each week, because I didn't really have big expenses then, I was going to save 18 grand. And the difference was I then thought, I didn't think, I've got 8 grand to party with. I thought, how do I get it to 20? And at that time, that was a lot of money, by the way. Yeah. Like it'd be like saving 40 or 50 grand now. But yeah, no. So you just take care of yourself, and pay yourself first. Save the first 10% that hits your hand. If you're at a corporation that's got a 401k, at least put enough in to get the match, at least. And if you're making enough money to do it, a lot of places have what are called Roth 401ks. So they're after-tax contributions, but it's like they call it a backdoor Roth. So that when you leave, you've got, like, I put some money in, and then when I left the last company I was at, I thought, oh, I probably got 20 grand in the Roth thing, but I wasn't paying attention to it in terms of, I would just put more, I would always try to put more in until it hurt. And it turns out I had 130,000.
So, like, are you, so if let's say I already max out my Roth every single year, am I able to?
Good for you, you're doing great.
Am I able to take advantage of a backdoor Roth as well?
Well,
or does,
you would have to be employed by a company that offers a Roth 401k.
Okay.
So if you're doing a Roth 401k, and I think now, this happened after I left corporate, but I think there was a point at which they said now the catch up has to be as a Roth because they were missing out on tax.
Yeah.
They're missing out on taxes. So I think that probably a certain amount of it has to be Roth now if it's offered. I don't know what the rules are on it, but if it's going to hurt because it's after tax contributions.
Yeah.
But it's essentially once you get it out, like once you roll it over, you're going to have a Roth IRA, which you may not be able to qualify for depending on your income, right? They don't let you do it after a certain amount.
Okay.
So that's a backdoor Roth.
And it but it takes the place of your other contribution that you would make to the Roth.
Well, yeah, I mean
Okay.
you're limited in how you can do it, but unless the rules have changed, you're limited into how much you can contribute. But that can be in a Roth or not. But yeah, maybe you're not. I don't. Yeah, I got to tell you, it's been 4 or 5 years for me, so I don't know. But my guess is you can't. Maybe you can because it's after tax. Maybe they don't care. But I think you are limited to it.
I'm sure they don't
won't let you do it to infinity. Otherwise, everyone would do it.
Yeah. They need their cut. Like Uncle Sam needs his cut no matter what. Yeah. And speaking of which, I'm just gonna stop you real quick. We're gonna do we're gonna do an advertisement. Then we're gonna get back to it, and we're gonna wrap up within the next 15 minutes.
All right, I'll do fine. I'll do. Just go ahead.
Yeah. So guys, Mother's Day's approaching, and if you have a carnivorous mother, maybe you should consider getting her Holler Boys beef jerky. So, ladies, Father's Day's approaching as well. Maybe you got like a dad or a husband that you want to get a gift for. Maybe you got like a burly, masculine, carnivorous man. I know masculinity is on the downslope in today's man, but maybe you're dating a soy boy twink who always insists on turning the lights out and doing it missionary for 3 minutes before finishing in your belly button and softly weeping in your arms. If that's the case, I can't help you. Maybe you could get him on Holler Boys beef jerky, though. If the former is true, though, he's your protector, your provider, your lover, your king. Treat him to Holler Boys jerky on any occasion. They got peach bourbon, honey habanero, southern barbecue, fuego, Chesapeake, and original flavors to light his taste buds ablaze. Located in Middletown, Delaware, Holler Boys is the only place I go for clean, lean beef jerky that doesn't have any trash ingredients like preservatives or nitric acids. Holler Boys caters to a paleo or keto diet and features Worcestershire sauce, brown sugar, apple juice, soy sauce, and more. It's a high-protein food, which is why I incorporate it in my weekly snacking routine. For flavor for days that'll make you holler and stretch your dollar, go to Holler Boys Jerky. That's holler with an A. Visit hollerboysjerky.com. And where's my holler soundbite? I always lose it on here. All right, back to you, Uncle.
So Worcestershire sauce. I'm gonna help you out.
Worcestershire.
Worcestershire. Yeah, Worcestershire. Like Worcester, Massachusetts. I went to Worcester.
Worcester. I've been to Worcester.
You bastard. Yeah. So back on point. So competence, right? Have a couple things that you do that you're good at that might be interesting to women. Whether like for me, it's music and it is I play co-ed volleyball. There was a guy I knew, was a young guy, kind of a short guy, and there was a girl that we both knew, and he basically said, "How do I get her to react to me like she reacts to you?" And I'm like, "Well, first you got to grow 6 inches." Because he said what she said, and I'm like, "Don't listen to what she says. Watch what she does."
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at every guy she's ever dated, they're all 6 feet tall, at least. She'll say height doesn't matter, but that's you watch what they do. So, and I asked him what his hobbies were, and it was like small engine repair and like silk flower arranging. It was like the stuff that, whatever drives the pussy out the most, that's what it was. And I'm like, you got to get a couple. I told him that, look, there's a college bar near you. Start out as a bar back, work your way up to bartender. You'll be a situational alpha, and you'll overcome the height problem you have because he's like 5'4". And you just it's like a Trivial Pursuit pie, or it's like a just like a pie chart. Like if you're short or like you're old, everything else has to be on point, which is why my fitness is on point, why my fashion's on point, blah, blah, blah. So about what Gaio talked about, which is when you're with a girl, and he talked about communication. It's so easy to get girls to talk. You have to, get them comfortable, even if it's propinquity, like you're just around a lot. Um, get a get her comfortable. Just make sure she knows she's not going to be judged, and ask her what her secret greasy little fantasy is. And they'll start off with, "Oh, I want to make love on the beach at sunset." No, you don't. Nobody wants to do that at sunset. When I have some serious thinking to do, you know where I go? Down to the beach at sunset, because nobody's fucking there. So there's that, and and pretty soon the stuff will come out like, I want to, I like CNC, I want rough sex, or I want to be tied up. Because I was getting that from girls. Like when I was a young guy, I would have been happy, like just getting, with my dick.
At Jamie Hartnett 9620 said, "I don't know, man. I will check for you."
All right.
So, yeah. So back on the chick thing. Yeah. So I would have been happy just getting laid, but what I found out was, because I just kind of go through life and measure myself against me. So I'd say, what do you like? What don't you like? Right. And you find out, because like, when Guy was talking about DP is something to think about and not actually do, it's because, the women who like the third input, shall we say, it's 70% no way and 30% yes, please. So that's the way it is. And you got to know how to do that and not get hurt or hurt her. So in any case, find out what her likes and dislikes are, and then work on that. And I was getting, because I'm a tall guy and I'm, got shoulders like boulders. I was getting a lot of girls who just wanted to be submissive, wanted to be tied up, wanted to be slave girls. The girl that I told you about who came to Philly with me, I had a collar on, right? And I've had girls ask for collars. And, and submissive women love that because it's a measure of their desirability. Some guy wanted me enough, he locked a collar on my neck. See that feminist fatty over there? No collar. Why? Because no man wants it. So it's a lot of being tied up, and just, you edge them, and then you give them as many orgasms as they can have. And if you're a submissive woman, that's going to be terrifying, because, a lot of times they think they're the only one, blah, da, 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 da. And, why am I like this? And if they find a guy who can deliver the goods, they keep coming, figuratively and literally, they keep coming back. If you're a guy who can scratch that itch for them, and they don't have to worry about waking up in a dumpster or not waking up at all, you can do that for a girl. She's going to like, and she's going to be very intent on doing whatever you like. And I've had women, I've done this to women. I've had girls thank me for having sex with them. It's nuts. You're like, shouldn't I be? And they're like, but as Gaio says, it's if you're a man and you can perform.
Have you ever had a girl like tell you you're welcome for like sex? Like,
no, that's never happened to me. I get thank yous.
I've gotten both, but like it was very like awkward, because like it's not like I don't think I've ever thanked a woman for sex, nor will I ever. But like,
yeah,
she was telling me like, you're welcome. Like, I think she was like expecting a thank you for.
Well, she's been dealing with simps. Yeah, no, my life is I get girls who, like, I was working on her head game, and I was like telling her not to leave out the undercarriage, and I basically told the girl to lick my balls, and she said thank you. That was kind of funny. But yeah, so Gail talked about trauma bonding. Very true. A lot of times girls are submissive. First off, the taller the girl is, the more likely she's submissive. It is what it is. And introverted girls also tend to have very deep inner worlds. And if she's had a bully or a tormentor, like a parent, an older sibling of somebody at school, they're very often performing a pantomime where you as the dominant stand in and they attempt to please you. And there was a girl who I had known in childhood, and we hooked up when we were in our 40s. And I smelled it on her, because like, you do this enough, who's going to want to get tied up. And I knew she did. So in the course of her asking why she was like that, I explained it to her. And she's like, well, I wonder who that is for me. Now, I've known her my whole life. So I told her who it was. I told her which one of her sisters it was. And she was like, oh my God. It took her about 20 minutes to come down from that. But yeah, so like a lot of girls will tell you a lot of stuff, and you just have to know how to ask. And, depending on what your thing is, like, you might attract different kind of women. But for me, because I'm a big dude and I can drag girls around by the ankle if I want to, that's the women I got. So that's it. So we did fitness, fun, finances, and fucking. Yeah, so we covered all four.
All right. Well,
and we got to kind of wrap it up, because I know we're coming to the end of the hour. A lot of my stuff is on Reddit at my subreddits are Uncle, like spelled in the usual way, Vazia, Uncle, VASYA, YA. It's all there. And there's probably 100 top level posts that cover various things from corporate land to corporate land after dark to dating models, which I've done when I was in New York, to some other stuff that's all helpful for guys who are young guys who want to learn.
Well, I will definitely, I'll check it out. I hope that my viewers will check it out. Yo, viewers, we got way too few likes. If you're still here and you haven't liked it, you need to like this shit. I'm gonna shut this shit down if I don't get fucking 25 more likes in the next 3 minutes. But also consider donating. Got 0 super chats. I need to bring the Ohio boys back because the Ohio boys know how to tip. So one last thing that I'm gonna ask from you, Uncle, is I like to leave my guests with some homework assignments, and you can feel free to tell me to fuck off. But one, I'm gonna ask you to promote the ever living fuck out of this. Maybe put it on your put it on your Reddit page and let people eat their hearts out. And then I'm also gonna ask you to be like a connector for me. So if you got another person who you think would make a good guest on my show, be like, hey, you should go on his show and like see what they say. Maybe they'll say yeah.
I got a guy in mind. I'll let you know off.
And you got a guy in mind. I'm also gonna add this little tidbit is that 5 foot tan brunettes with perky B cups and brown eyes never hurt ratings. So
that's my situation chick, except she's 5'3". I usually go for tall girls because they plow the road for me. But my situation ship, I caught that on the end of the one you did with Gaio, and I mentioned it to her. She thought it was great. But yeah, she's a funny chick. But
all right,
she got great titties and 5'3".
Ask her if she has any interest in coming on, because I do realize like sometimes I try and be deep. I try and have content that will like serve people, like talking about how to sell cash secured puts and covered calls and good investment strategies. I could talk about the universe and thermodynamics, but nothing gets people's attention like a hot chick. I can talk until I'm blue in the face about useful information, but like people ultimately just want to like stare at like a hot girl's chest.
Yeah, no, I get that. So can I leave 3 like rules to live by like I did?
Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna do it right now. So this is called 3 truths. If you were to live a long and a fruitful life, and I hope that you do, I hope that you live to whatever age that you wish to. Maybe it's 110, 115. And when you pass away, you're surrounded by a loving family, and your life is a list of completed checklist. You've achieved every goal that you ever set out for yourself. And when you go, you feel no pain. You go out in your sleep, at the ripe old age of whatever age you want to be. But everything that you've ever contributed in this life, everything material that you've ever contributed in this life goes in the grave with you. So every Reddit post, every Facebook post, every picture that you've ever taken of yourself, every college essay, everything, your life's work goes in the grave with you. You're only allowed to leave behind these 3 wisdoms. What are your 3 wisdoms?
So the first is attributed to Arthur Ashe, which is start where you are, use what you have, do what you can.
That's awesome. And I'm a believer in God. So I don't believe in coincidences. So I'll just say that when I was in the gym today, that was written on the board, and like it was the first time that I ever heard that. So that's really coincidental if you believe in coincidences.
One of my favorites. Let me think. What's the next one? No one is coming to save you, and the only way out is through. That's the second one. So, and the last one, God, I just had it on the tip of my tongue. The only way out is through. Oh yeah, if you keep fighting back. If you get knocked down 7 times, you get back up 8. Yeah, I was in a fight once where I was actually fighting 2 guys, and like I kept getting knocked down, and they were kind of laughing at me, and 6 times, 7 times, and then after a while, it stopped being funny for them because I kept fighting back. And the 10th time, it wasn't me who got knocked down. So yeah, there's no one's coming to save you. The only way out is through. And if you get knocked down 7 times, get back up 8. Just keep getting after it. And then the Arthur Ashe quote. And the last thing I will say is, what's the title? You can vote yourselves into communism, kids, but you got to shoot your way out of it.
Yep. Yeah, ask any refugee who fled a communist state. They all fled, like we said. Usually,
big time, yeah.
Usually on a raft or on some like train out of like the cold tundra. Like none of them ever like just left like, you know, getting a farewell send off by the communist state. They all left as political refugees that were fearing for their lives.
A lot of people leave, you know, post-communist states to come to America. We don't do it the other way around.
Yeah.
Right. When those people are coming from North Africa, floating those boats across to Europe, then they don't meet Europeans coming in the other direction. They may soon, but not right now.
By the way, have you ever seen the Jubilee episode of Patrick Bet-David arguing against like 20 anti-capitalists versus one capitalist?
I have not, but he's a brilliant guy.
You should definitely check that video. It's Patrick Bet-David on Jubilee. It's a great episode.
Well, thanks for having me. I've got a guy in mind who's a guest for you, who I don't think has guested for you yet, but maybe he has. But I will text that to you, so it'll be a big surprise for all your. You know him. You don't know you know.
Okay.
But you will know the guy. So good enough. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you, Uncle Vaz. And I'll stay in touch. You're a good friend, and thank you for being a great conversationalist. Guys, at this time, I think I'm gonna wrap it up. Wait, let me get my soundboard up here. Wrap it up.
Though the sign is real simple, B. It says wrap it up.
Guys, you should always be wrapping it up, by the way. Our next, I've really been slacking on scheduling people for my podcast. So if anybody's interested, like I said, hit me up on Instagram. My next scheduled podcast is Sunday, the 24th of May. I got Glenn from Seattle and Danielle from right here in Philadelphia coming on. And I'm going to try and load it up with more people. I'd like to have like maybe some more Seattle guys remote calling in, and then some more Philadelphia girls in here in the studio with me. Guys, by turning on the notification bell, you could be notified when we go live. Once again, we want to humbly thank our listeners and pay them ample gratitude for their patronage. Without you guys, we wouldn't be able to have such a high-quality, interactive show. So thank you, thank you, thank you, audience.
So the audience are a bunch of hoes.
Yup.
I'd like to take this time to remind all of our listeners that we're spreading like a virus. The Good Faith Podcast is now officially on YouTube Live with video as well as archived there, and also Apple Podcasts, Pandora, Spotify, RSS.com, Amazon Music, Samsung Podcasts, Listen Notes, iHeartRadio, and Patreon. On Patreon, we're working to build additional value for the multiple tiers of donors with special content, super chat priority, VIP in-person meetings. We do value your attention, so thank you for quieting your TikTok brain for the last 2 hours. This is a reminder, if you feel you got any value from our show, it takes basically zero extra work to like, subscribe. It'll move us closer to our goal of having thousands of subscribers, which will bump us up in the algorithm. It'll expose us to more potential listeners. If you guys want to share us with more of your friends and family, we would be absolutely delighted to extend our outreach. The quickest way for us to broaden our exposure is for you listeners to each share us with one friend. We appreciate it from the bottom of our hearts. If you live in the greater Philadelphia area, you want to guest star on a show, please reach out to me in a DM at Christopher Bulick. The Patreon link's in the description. All proceeds will go towards rent, food, electricity, new computer equipment to improve our general show quality, and Clark's medical expenses.
I ain't trying to screw you. You ain't giving me no money.
To all of our faithful audience,
So the audience are a bunch of hoes.
Yup.
we wish you a wonderful weekend, a happy and healthy lifestyle, and to all of you, we bid you goodbye.
Gone. Goodbye. And if you need money, sell rocks. I heard that's what they do around here.